another video today. Y'all make sure y'all lock in with us. Hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, hit that notification bell, and become a part of the SWAC Talk family by becoming a member. 99 cents gets you a membership to the YouTube channel. We have special perks coming at you. We're going to be dropping special members only videos and shorts. I'm going to have rants and reactions to different things that I want to put there. So if you want to get everything, man, become a member of the Swag Talk crew for 99 cents and get down with the get down, man. And so we're going to still be bringing y'all a lot of stuff, swag smoke and everything like that, and all our normal videos. But we also bring y'all that membership tier. So get down with that. Check out the Facebook and Instagram, both Swag Talk, Twitter Swag Talk 76. And now let's get on with the show, man. Let's do it.
Welcome to the show, see bros your guy. Wednesday, Sundays, catch the ride. Football hoops, we breaking wide. Stats and facts, truth on high. SWAT talk where the convo's real. From Texas to Florida, we seal the deal. Just pull up, the vibes are real. Chopping it up, we spin the wheel. Hit the corner of the field, we strategize. Breaking the game down, no disguise. Play by play, we analyze. I wear sharp, we magnify. SWAT talk where the convo's real. From Texas to Florida, we seal the deal. Just pull up, the vibes are real. Chopping it up, we spin the wheel. Wednesdays, heat, Sundays, ignite. We talking legends shining bright. Back and forth, day or night. This the plug, we bring the light. SWAT talk where the convo's real. From Texas to Florida, we seal the deal. Just pull up, the vibes are real. Chopping it up, we spin the wheel. Wednesdays, heat, Sundays, ignite. We talking legends shining bright. Back and forth, day or night. This the plug, we bring the light. SWAT talk where the convo's real. From Texas to Florida, we seal the deal. Just pull up, the vibes are real. Chopping it up, we spin the wheel.
All right, everybody, what's going on, man? How y'all doing? Of course, I'm your tour guide around the Swag C Wells coming at you. And today we're gonna take a look at the first portion of week 2. Week 1 and 2 are always, super busy. Everybody's playing so many games. So instead of trying to do one big video, I decided to split them up. So this is part 1 of week 2. We're gonna cover 5 games here, and then we'll cover other 5 games on Friday, and wrap up week 2. We'll recap week 2 on Sunday, and Swag Smoke coming at you on Thursday, 6 p.m. Central, 7 p.m. Eastern. So let's go ahead and jump into this. And there's like five of the 10 games on the schedule are FBS games. So this will be another week that we probably won't go super deep into some of these matchups. And there are the other 5 matchups are FCS matchups, including 2 matchups between SWAC teams. Neither one of them are non-conference. Already seen people confused about the Southern game last week being a conference game, which is not. This game here against Bama State and the Auckland, Alabama A&M game is also a non-conference game. So, I think ESPN might say it or someone else might say it, but from the schedules themselves, these are not conference games. So let's go ahead and get into it, and we'll start off first with Grambling taking on Ohio State. That game is a 2:30 kickoff on the Big Ten Network. Buckeyes, new number 1, beat Texas 14-7 on Saturday. So they're coming in, with a lot of momentum, a lot of enthusiasm, and they passed their first hurdle, defending in their first hurdle to help them try to defend their championship and win the college football playoff last season. So they lost, they lost, they lost some real key contributors, but you know how These kind of programs are they basically, reload, reload the wallet and reload the guys. And so they, defensively they were top notch Saturday. Not so much on offense. They have a freshman quarterback, and Ju- uh, Julian saying, um, and they have talent all over the field. That's never going to be a question of Ohio State. Defensively, they were really solid, shutting down Texas. Um, and Graham was coming in off of a 55-7 victory over Langston. Uh, to me, this game is not so much. Um, to me, like a lot of people, this is a get in and get out game. It'd be great to see Grambling play a team that they're comparable with. Last week, NAIA team this week, P5 power. So, we really don't really know exactly what Gremlin is. And so it'll be good, in the near future to see them match up with somebody that we can say, okay, this is what Gremlin is. So for me, the keys to this game are basically to, don't get stage fright. You know what I mean? Playing in the horseshoe, historical stadium, it's gonna be, packed, it's gonna be loud. You know, I'm not worried about the TV aspect. Groundless played on TV before. Groundless played in large crowds before. So I'm not necessarily meaning it from that aspect, but you're playing against probably the best team in the country right now. Just keep yourself, keep keep yourself composed. If this was college football video game, you want to make sure your composure ratings are high, so the stadium pulse doesn't get to you. You know what I'm saying? Your hot rosters so it don't disappear on you. But seriously, just approach the game as it is. Don't make a lot more out of it than what it is, and just come to play. Um, as best as you can. Try to establish the run so you can control the clock a little bit. And protect the quarterback. They just saw what they did against Texas. Um, they're capable of making a quarterback uncomfortable. So you want to keep the quarterback comfortable, keep him upright as best as you can, and then a bonus one is just get in and get out, man. Don't put yourself in no adverse situations, and stay healthy, and see where you go from there. I mean, like I said, I don't believe in just coming in these games and just laying down right off the opening kick, but play it out for a while. Let's see how it goes. If it looks like it's going against you, then discretion, the better part of valor. But come to play, come to win. Everything. Respect everybody, fear nothing, but just treat it as such. So I really think this game that the I really think the margin of this game is going to be determined by Ohio State's approach to this game. Um, if they come out, if they come out focused with fire in their eyes and trying to do damage, this game is going to get ugly quick. If they come out, you know, because they do have young guys on their team. They do have young guys in key positions. If they come out and kind of going through the motions, maybe thinking too much about last week and all that kind of stuff, then maybe you could find yourself in a game that's a little closer than it may should be. If they don't really lock in, maybe you could steal a few points in there. But I think Ohio State names the score here. I'm gonna say 60-7. I think whatever the case gonna be, the Buckeyes are gonna control it, and that's pretty much that. The next game we have is another FBS matchup. This one is more intriguing. This is one a lot of people been looking at since the schedule release. A lot of people, have some good thoughts on it, and that's Jackson State taking on Southern Miss. Um, this game is a 4 o'clock kickoff on ESPN Plus. The Eagles coming off of a 34-17 loss to Mississippi State, where they looked competitive for a while, but couldn't fully slow the Bulldogs down. Jackson State 28-14 victory over Hampton, in a game that I think they may have been able to put away if they, outside of a couple of things that Hampton was able to get done. I think Jackson State kind of controlled this game, not necessarily on the scoreboard, but I don't think they necessarily were in any real danger of losing the game. Um, and so they come in 1-0. Um, Eagles come in 0-1. A lot of people feel like this is a matchup that it is favorable for Jackson State, and I agree. I think they're gonna have to they're gonna have to clean up some things from week one. Of course, they got a little banged up in week one, so hopefully everybody's good to go. Um, Southern Miss is still relatively as far as this team goes. That's still a little bit of an unknown because they have a new coach and a lot of new guys on this team. So you don't really know what they are, but I believe that this Southern Miss is not necessarily what previous years of Southern Miss teams were. I think they're going to be a lot better than what they have been. Um, so that makes it a little bit more interesting. Um, like I said, they got done in the third quarter against Mississippi State, but they were competitive for the first two quarters. And so Braylon Braxton is the quarterback. He was 26 of 39 on the night for 199 yards. He did throw two touchdowns. He also had an interception. Got sacked once. Um, so he's a guy who definitely is capable of being a weapon. He also led the team in rushing in that game with 12 carries for 58 yards. So he's a guy who's definitely going to try to run the ball. He had the most carries out of anybody on the offense. Um, so that's something to definitely look at. They had no other ball carrier had more than 18 yards. So even though their backs combined for 21 carries, none of them they barely equal to what he was. So in terms of yardage, so he did the bulk of the ball carrying. And I would expect similar in this game. Um, and so I expect him to be a guy who's gonna run the ball a lot. Yeah, so you're definitely gonna want to account for that. Hampton gave you a little trouble early with the quarterback run. So you definitely want to keep tabs on that. Um, that's one of those things I think that they're gonna have to kind of step up and keep focus on him. The leading receiver was called Chester. He had 52 yards on the night on 5 receptions. Also, Jeffrey Pittman has 6 catches out the backfield for 52 yards. So they willing to spread the ball around to multiple receivers, and they got everybody involved. Both tight ends caught passes, so they did try to spread the ball around. Um, and so that's something you definitely you're gonna want to keep tabs on. It's gonna have to be just play assignment football and go from there. So to me, this is one of those games where on paper and everybody's thought process. Jackson State has a a good chance, which I think they do. But this is still a team in Southern Miss that's figuring some things out. So that means to me, it's important for Jackson State to get off to a fast start, which you could say about every game we're going to talk about. But some games, it really is important to get off to a fast start. Um, you want to, you want to get your passing game going. Didn't really throw the ball extremely well in the game Saturday, so you got the weapons to spread the ball around, and of course the run game doing what it doing what it did. Kind of made it where you did not necessarily have to throw. But a game like this, these guys are gonna try to take the run away or at least slow you down. So you need that other option there. You got the weapons to get it done. Just consistency at quarterback in that aspect can help you get going there. And you want to turn these guys over. I mean, again, they're still a relatively new group. New coaches and everything. When you can get a team in some adversity, it's always good to see where they stand. So if you can force a couple early turnovers, um, whether it's defense or special teams, if you can get a turnover here or there, put yourself in better field position, maybe put them a little bit behind the eight ball. And you'll see where you'll see where these guys stand. But like I said, I think this could be a really close game. I'm still I'm still kind of leaning Eagles, but I'm going like 26-23. Like I said, I think if Jackson State can, run the ball anywhere near the level that they did on Saturday, and the passing game improve. And when I say improve, I just mean numbers wise, the talent is there. If this offense clicks the way it can, and the defense, is able to slow these guys down, which I don't think is impossible. I think JSU has a really good chance in this game. So this is probably outside of the UAB game against Bama State last week, is probably one of the more winnable FBS games that the SWAC has. And it's time for the conference to win one of these things. So why not this one? Why not your best team? You know, why not now? So I do think Jack State has a really good chance of winning, but I'm still slightly leaning Eagles. I don't, I still slightly leaning that way, but I still think JSU has a really good chance in this game. It takes us to our next FBS game of this episode, and this game, I feel kind of the opposite. This is more of your typical money game to me. That's Texas Southern taking on Cal, uh, 5 p.m. kickoff um, on ESPN Plus, I believe, or the ACC, ESPN Plus or ACC Extra, which I can't get over Cal being in the ACC. I just that's gonna always be weird to me. But that's where they are. That's what this is nowadays. The Golden Bears had a good first game against Oregon State. They had a true freshman quarterback really sling the ball around. And they played fairly well in that game. Um, Jerron, so these names always kill me. Jerron Sagaputu Sagaputulele. I know I butchered that name. But he had 234 yards passing in the game Saturday, 20 or 30. Threw 3 touchdowns, no interceptions, no sacks. Really good game, for your first game. Um, like I say, threw the ball around. Tron Grizel was his leading receiver. He had 5 catches for 83 yards. Again, another game where they targeted multiple guys. Uh, 2 backs caught passes, 2 tight ends caught passes, well, 3 tight ends caught passes, 4 wide receivers caught passes. So they really spread the ball around to multiple guys. The run game was led by Brandon Hyde. He had 10 catches for 41 yards on the night. I mean, 10 carries for 49 yards on the night. Also, Kendrick Raphael had nine carries for 37 yards, and the QB had 2 for 30. So he didn't run much, but he was able to pick up some serious yards at a 25-yarder on the night, which was their longest run of the night. The longest pass was 35 yards. They had 2 of those. So nothing super explosive, like just like 40, 50 yard plays, but they were able to do what they needed to do. Um, and again, this game to me is more of a focus on TSU. Just what to me, the main key for TSU is to put last week behind them. That was a disappointing loss. Um, that was a game that you had won. You had some breakdowns at the end to cost you. So you want to, you don't come into a game like this. It's easy to kind of let that linger, and because it's like, oh, it's a non-conference game, it's the FBS game. We we'll take a little extra time to dwell on that game, which I don't really think they will. I know Coach Disman said, 24-hour rule and all that, but guys are guys. Sometimes you just can't shake a game like that. But a game like this sometimes help you shake that kind of game because you're playing a bigger a bigger team, and so you want to kind of put a good foot forward. So you definitely want to put last week behind you. You want to be more consistent on offense. I thought they showed flashes on offense in that game, but not enough to really take the bull by the horns in that game. I know they didn't really gain a ton of yardage in that game, so you want to be more consistent on offense. You got some weapons in the run game. You got some weapons in the pass game. you got a quarterback who is capable. So you definitely want to be more consistent there. And just like I said again, just like any of these games, you want to take the early portion of this game and see where you stand. Um, if you can move the ball, if you can, you can score some points here and there, I think that helps you a lot. Um, and defensively, you just want to have better communication. I think Coach Dishman said that in the on that final play they had some miscommunication. I think a guy might have lined up in the wrong spot, moved out of the spot to another spot, and that opened up the area for the receiver to get into for the final touchdown. So you want to have better communication, and it's on. And that was this week one. Those kind of things happen in week one. Teams struggle with tackling in early in the season, communication on defense. Even communication on offense. So you want to just be more clean in a game like this, and again, just see where you stand. But I think this is Cal's game, so I'm gonna go 55-7. If TSU can, they can put a couple more TDs on the board, that'd be tremendous. But that's kind of where I'm at right now with this one. So that takes us to our first FBS game. I mean, excuse me, our first FCS game of the weekend in terms of this preview. And that's Tarleton State hosting Mississippi Valley, 6 p.m. kickoff on ESPN Plus. Delta Devils. We'll start off with Valley. Um, Valley still, well, for Valley still, is still developing. They're still growing. Um, that was the first game for them, so they had a lot of communication issues. They had a lot of execution issues at times, but they did show a good base to build off of, especially on defense. I thought their defense flew around. I thought they were able to, force 2 turnovers, almost score 2 touchdowns on defense. And they never really quit on defense. Offensively, I think is a lot of new guys trying to figure out a new system, a lot of moving parts. So there were a lot of things that need to be cleaned up. But Josh Brown at QB did a good job, kind of making things out of nothing on the offense. Whenever things broke down, he did a good job of kind of you know, breaking away and picking up some kind of yardage. The passing game, they had 2 big pass plays, one from Brown that went for a touchdown, and one from Nunez that went for like 73 yards. So they had a couple, well, two big pass plays. So Brown threw 2 touchdowns to a late touchdown. So two big pass plays from Brown and one from Nunez. They accounted for the bulk of their passing offense. And outside of what Brown did on scrambles, they didn't have much of a run game. So my first key for Valley is to establish a run game beyond your quarterback basically scrambling out of the pocket. You got to have some kind of down to down run game. They didn't really have that against Southern, so you definitely need to establish that, and just continue to improve and grow. I mean, this is one block out of however many it takes to get wherever they need to go. And this is a tough matchup for them. I mean, Tarleton State was already going to be a tougher matchup for them, uh, regardless of what happened in week one. But now you're playing a team who's coming off of an FBS victory over Army. They're 2-0, but they won their week 0 game at Portland State. So they 2-0 on the road. They haven't even played a home game. And they won their first 2 games. So they definitely are a team that, is you gotta have both eyes on these guys. They want to run the football, and they've done it pretty well in this game. I mean, in the season so far. So if you Valley coming off of a game where you gave up 200 yards in your first matchup against a team that kind of felt their way around and got 200 yards. This is a team that's got 2 backs already over 150 yards. Trey Page the third, or I guess you can just call him Trey Page. He has 259 yards already this season. 3 touchdowns, has a longer 89, averaging 8.9 yards per carry. Also, Caleb Lewis has 158 yards on the season on 31 carries. He averages 5.1 yards per carry and a longer 40. So they have two backs that are already that would two backs who would already be tops in the SWAC in rushing yardage. Plus the quarterback, Victor Gabales, has has a 4.6 yard per carry average on 7 carries. He's thrown about 30 for 54 for 304 yards. He has 3 touchdowns passing, no interceptions. He's been sacked twice. But he has a long with 21. So again, they're not really a team that wants to air it out. Uh, Cody Jackson is the leading receiver. He has 10 catches for 149 yards. And Peyton Kramer also has 9 catches for 106 yards. Uh, they're not really a team that's looking to go really long. They do have a long pass of 60 on the season. Um, so they want to run the football. So if you're Valley, you definitely need to stop the run. You kind of in fits and starts did it on Saturday, but you got to do it consistently in this game if you want to give yourself a chance. Um, and so you really just have to, you really have to slow these guys down on the ground. And like I said, this is just gonna be a week to week thing. I think some weeks Valley's gonna look better than others. This is a tough matchup for them. I'm hoping that they can, continue to grow. And I hear a lot of people say that, Valley right now is showing more than they've shown, which is true in the last 2 years. But I think a lot of people forgetting about the I think a lot of people forgetting or don't know about the teams that they had in 21 and 22 under Coach Dancy. Um, Record wise, maybe not the best, but they definitely were a team that could frustrate you. They never quit. They would beat you down, or they would at least keep fighting to the end. So I don't think this is new for Valley. I think it's just you know not common. And so if they can continue to play scrappy and put themselves in position to win, I think they will get it done. But I like Tulsa State in this one. I'm going to go 41-17 because I just think offensively Valley still has a lot of cleaning up to do. And the way that the Texans run the football right now, I think that is going to play in their favor um, as they move forward. Next up is our first of two SWAC games that aren't SWAC games. Um, 6 o'clock kick. I don't 6 o'clock kick. Alabama A&M hosting Alcorn and Lewis Cruz Classic. Two teams is early in the season, but two teams that both need something positive to happen. Um, Alcorn coming off of a disappointing loss to Northwestern State, 20-10, and Alabama and them dropping a loss to Arkansas, which they were tied at 7 after the first half. I mean after the first drive, so they were in the game for a second, but they never really got it going. Um, so this is a very important game. I mean, this is Alcorn's second game against an FCS opponent. This is Alabama A&M's first game against a FCS opponent. That score was 52-7 against Arkansas, but right now it's really tough to say what the Bulldogs are because we haven't really seen them against a comparable opponent. This will be the first time. Um, we know, Quad Brown is the QB. He had a really good first drive, and then Arkansas kind of tightened up and made things tougher for them. Caden Dixon led the team in rushing with 5 carries for 37 yards. Also, Isaiah No had 34 yards on 8 carries, and Maurice Edwards had 30 yards on 6 carries and a touchdown. So all their backs averaged above 4 yards per carry, which is solid. Um, Brown was 9 of 19 for 130 yards. He didn't have a touchdown or interception. He was sacked once. Threw for 130 yards, like I said, had along with 26. So that the opportunity for the offense to expand is here. Trevante Abner had 3 catches from his tight end spot for 49 yards on the night. Um, Alcorn defensively was really solid in this game against Northwestern State. I thought they did a good job of, weathering that storm literally and figuratively because they had, weather issues. But the offense never really put them in any position to kind of to be productive. They had 3 turnovers on the night, had 2 interceptions in the red zone, and a fumble on a bad punt snap. Um, and so they just never really got it going offensively. Defensively, they held Northwestern State to um, around 250 yards of offense, I believe, or something less than 300. I know. So they really, including 85 passing yards. So they did a good job defensively in that game. Offensively, they just never really got it going. So to me, this is a good matchup because both teams need a bounce back. Honestly, for different reasons. A&M needs a bounce back because you lost your first game. You want to win your second game. Alcorn needs a bounce back because they need to put that Northwestern State game totally behind them. And the only way to do that is to win this game. So this is an opportunity for a fresh start for both teams. Obviously, somebody's gonna be 0-2 after the night. Depending on who it is, it could be a different feel for the season. Um, and them at home, this is their first game at home under a new coach. So I expect the energy to be there in the stadium. Everybody always enthusiastic about having a new coach and having the opportunity to go out and see those guys play at home for the first time is always gonna uh be special. So you're gonna have that atmosphere. Alcorn, they need to show that they can take care of the football. They need to show that they can trust the running game because it was working with Sewell and Davis. If they can continue to, give the guys the ball and establish that and let the quarterback, whether it's Tolbert or Lawrence or whoever, but Tolbert went the whole game. So I'm assuming it'll be him again. Let him get comfortable and take advantage of the guys you have outside. I, I think they just need to play a better offensive game in this game, and special teams need to clean up the mistakes. And the defense, if they play like they played Thursday, I think Braves will be fine. Offensively, they just got to be able to move the ball and put some things together. Um, and because, like I said, because of the game against Arkansas, it's really tough to say what A&M is at this point. But we'll know more after Saturday. So I think this will be a close game. I do think it's going to be a low 20s type of game. So I got A&M 21, all point 20. Probably a late field goal, touchdown, something. Give the Bulldogs the win. Um, I think both teams still, like I said, I think they're both still trying to figure it out. So that's where we stand. So with that being said, man, this is part one. Like I said, part two will be coming on Friday. So we'll catch y'all then. I'm your tour guide. See Wells. I'm out. Peace.